Salvete Skibili. So, a little factum ludibundum for you to start off this video. At its height, the city of Rome had approximately 1 million permanent residents. This was a population that would remain unmatched until London in the Industrial Revolution, basically. So, until almost the 1800s in London. That's crazy. City was huge. So our actual objectiva, to be able to define the acronym Sid Space and know how to use it, to recite all the ablative endings of declensions 1, 2, 2n, and 3, to translate ablative with Sid Space prepositions both ways, and to translate ablative of means when you see it. So this is on Sid Space and the ablative of means. In Latin, there are two cases that are used with prepositional phrases. So if I see a word like in or under or with or through, it's going to the noun that goes with it, the object of the preposition, is either going to be in the accusative or in the ablative case. So what we need to learn is we need to learn when each one is used. When do they use accusative? When do they use ablative? And really, it's that certain prepositions use the accusative and certain ones use the ablative. One way to think about this that often works is that prepositions that use action that goes toward a place or thing, so forward motion, they are usually accusative. And prepositions that express stationary placement or action away from something, they're usually ablative. But there is an easier way. I'm going to give you an acronym for remembering the ablative prepositions that we have, and that's Sid Space. Sounds like a cool cat's kind of name, you know? So, what does Sid Space stand for? Well, it stands for the following prepositions. And as I give them to you, I'm going to tell you what each one means, or the definition of each. So this is some additional vocabulary that you'll have to learn with this grammar. If a preposition is in Sid Space, it uses ablative, period. If it is not in Sid Space, you can assume it's accusative. I'll repeat that one more time, it's important. If the preposition is in Sid Space, then it uses ablative. If it's not in Sid Space, you can assume that it uses accusative. So S is for sub, which means under. I is for in, when it means in or on. When it means in or on. So if I see in with the ablative, it means in or on. If I see in with the accusative, it means into or onto. And that's also important, so I'll repeat it again. If I see in with the ablative, it means in or on. If I see in with the accusative, it means into or onto, that motion toward. We learned that a few stages ago. D is for day, which means down from or about. The next S is for sine, which means without. As in, without friends, I'm very sad. The P is for pro, which means in front of, on behalf of, before. The A is for a or ob. And the reason why there are two here is because you use this, just the letter A or a. You'll use that when the object of the preposition starts with a consonant. So for example, I would say a cane, and that would mean away from the dog. However, if I wanted to say away from the water, water in Latin is aqua. It starts with an A. So it starts with a vowel. So then I would say ob aqua. That's also important, so I'll repeat it again. There are two here for away from, are, ob. If the object of the preposition starts with a consonant, I use a. So my example was a cane, away from the dog. Versus if the object starts with a vowel, like water, aqua, then I would say ob aqua. C is for cum, which we know means with. And E is for AX. This works the same as ob. Okay? If I wanted to say out of or from, which is what this preposition means, out of or from the dog, I would say a cane with just the letter E. If I wanted to say out of or from the water, I would say ex aqua. So it's based off of consonant, object, preposition, vowel, beginning, object, preposition. So again, sub is under, in, with the ablative is in or on, de is from, down from, or concerning, or about. Sine is without, pro is before, in front of, on behalf of, ob is away from, cum is with, and a or x is from or out of. Sid Space. Ablative of means. This was our other topic. So ablative of means is a way of using the ablative to say by means of, or with. And it tells how you've completed something. With what? What tool or implement have you used to do something? In Latin, there's actually no preposition present. So you'll just see a word in the ablative. My example, puella soxis pugnavit. The girl fought with rocks. Notice that soxis is ablative. This is the second declension neuter ablative plural ending. Okay, so what did the girl fight with? Well, she fought with rocks. That's the question that ablative of means always answers. It's always talking about a thing or a tool that you use to do something. That tool, in this case the rocks, is the means by which the girl fought. And there is no preposition in the Latin. Notice it's just a noun in the Latin, just a word. The thing that was being used, the means, is in the ablative. Another example, furca cibum consumo. This says I eat with a fork. Furca is fork, or I eat food, rather, cibum, right, with a fork. That's the means by which I'm eating my food. It's how this little boy is getting the food from the plate to his mouth. He could have also done it with his hands, okay, and that would be a means. He's getting it there with a fork. So furca is that ablative of first declension. Notice I don't have a word for with. I don't have a word for by. It's just the means, the tool. The tool being used is in the ablative. It does not, again, look like this. Cum furca, which would be with, right? Well, that's the preposition for with. So you're probably wondering, why am I not using cum to say with? I eat with a fork. Why am I not using cum? Cum implies something completely different. If I used cum, that would mean that the fork was sitting beside the boy and he was eating a meal with the boy. Creepy picture, right? So lastly, and I mentioned this earlier, but the ablative of means is a tangible thing, such as the rocks in our first example. The girl fought with rocks. That's the tool she used. So I keep using the word tool. It's a tool that she's using. Urbs navibus multis custoditur says the city is guarded by many ships. How are we guarding the city? What tool are we using to guard the city? Well, it's the many ships. Notice again that navibus and multis are ablative and there's no preposition. Id meis oculis vidi. I saw it, vidi, it, id, with my eyes. Meis oculis. Notice that those are both ablative endings, and they are the tool by which I saw it. So all tangible, all tools being used to do some action. All in the ablative, no preposition. So what about that use of cum then? Because cum does mean with. Let's return to that. Well, that's called the ablative of accompaniment, and you do need to know about this as well. And it's always translated using with, and it uses the word with, so that makes sense. Cum populis meis ambulo says, I walk, right, ambulo, with cum, my people. This means that the people are walking with me. They are accompanying me in the action. It always involves people or animals, and literally the person or thing in the prepositional phrase is doing the action with you. They are accompanying you in it. So think of cum populis meis ambulo. That's like walking with your friends. You're all walking, you're getting along, you're having a good time. You have to use cum. If you don't use cum, if you had populis meis ambulo, no cum there, that would mean that the people were tools and that you were literally using them to walk. Like they had replaced your legs or they were stilts or something. Like that would be if this girl said that and she took these people and she stood on their shoulders and forced them to be her stilts. That would be weird, okay? So the difference between accompaniment and means is if you use cum, right, the object is still it's accompaniment and it's still ablative, but that cum signals me that they are actually doing the action with me, such as in the picture. Versus if you don't use cum and you just put the people or animals in the ablative, then that means that you're using them like a tool to do that action, which is just totally wrong and weird. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Have a great day. Well, late day.